Hey everybody, this is Suge and Mooney. Is our official YouTube channel. Suge and Mooney is a podcast with I'm Mooney.
And I'm Suge.
Yeah. We started this podcast in June, and we just hit our double-digit number for episodes. We're about to release our 11th episode. We figured a lot of things we talk about are like visual, and we thought the best experience could also seeing us and seeing how we interact. So going forward, we decided to start a YouTube channel. So when we started the podcast in June, we introduced ourselves, basically saying that we were coworkers. And during the day while we were working on our job, we would just discuss things that were trending on Twitter, whatever sports was going on. Depending on the time of year, we were happy or we were sad. Sometimes we were a little bit frustrated with certain teams that we follow. And that energy, that dynamic, we wanted to bring it to social media and podcast form. Because me and Suge right now, we can't really hang out as much with the situation in 2020. When it started with the quarantine, we were just like messaging back and forth, and we were like having a good time, we were laughing and stuff, and we had like good ideas too. And we hit on a lot of important things, not just funny stuff. We also talked about serious stuff. And when June hit, we were just like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's start a show. Why not highlight the best moments and the moments that resonate most to me and to Suge. And in this first video, it's going to be all the moments that I think best capture the show. Suge, any moments that come to mind?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff dealing with racism that, we usually don't get to conversate about at length, and we finally got to.
There's stories every day, and like it's just like story after story after story. It was kind of hard to send out videos right away. We wanted to focus on the conversation, kind of up the ante, and we started doing a YouTube channel. And Suge, do you have any really jump out to you?
Talked about our experience meeting and seeing Artie Lang perform stand-up live.
Yeah, so then we eventually saw Artie Lang live. He performed at Gotham City Club 2 months later, and we got tickets to it. I felt like shit. I felt like, well, whatever. Next day at work, I was like, oh, man. I was like, sorry about that, man. I don't know what the hell happened. But in the positive, I got a free book signed by him.
Mm-hmm.
And here you go. Only one copy. Sorry, Siobhan. And also...
But I got a pic with him.
I ordered a cameo with Artie Lang. And he was very understanding. He wasn't making jokes or anything. He was just like, oh, man, I understand what happened. I've been there, man. Like, shit happens. And here is the copy of the book. Come meet me backstage. Just message my manager.
Listen, Mike and me being Artie Lang, have a surprise for you. You're coming to see me at Gotham Comedy Club in New York City. Mike is bringing you. He got you tickets, bro. You're supposed to see me at the Cellar. I guess because of some drinking situations, Mike couldn't make it, and it fucked up. But he's making up for that by coming on January 4th at Gotham Comedy Club to see me.
Maybe it was random serendipity, but we sat front row center.
Yeah. And it was my first time at a comedy show. I always love comedy. Eddie Murphy Raw is one of my favorites. Dave Chappelle, I met him, and it was one of the, it was very brief, but it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I will never forget. And Chris Rock, and I love these different comedians. So finally getting to meet one and actually getting to sit down and listen to an actual comedy show live was something I always wanted to do. And Mike helped me realize that dream. So I thank him for that. And I totally forgive him for the first time because, you know what, I was shit-faced too. But I think I hold my liquor a little bit better than you you do. I think that's the only difference. It's not like a scripted type of thing. It's not a constricting format. We actually get to freely talk about different things, and that's the part I enjoy most about the show. I think we had a great discussion about interracial relationships. I got to tell some of my stories, provide some context, because we've basically just talked about it being like black and white, and obviously interracial relationships don't even start and end with those two races, because my mom is Indian and my father is black. You could be talking about Asian men and black women, Asian women and black men, all types of different combinations of people. Um, but like my main idea of it is just, you shouldn't box yourself in. Like, if you look at somebody and you're like, wow, that's like a pretty attractive person, like, and then you talk to them and then you realize like you guys are vibing and your personalities match and like you're interested in them. um it shouldn't matter what their outward appearances, because you're learning about that person. I think that's where a lot of the issues in society, as far as racism, bigotry, homophobia, all these things come from. It's just like we don't get to know each other as people. And looking at the, I said it in the last episode, accepting people for the content of their character and not the color of their skin or their sexuality or their religion, any type of differences you have. I think if we get together and you start getting to know different cultures, you start to appreciate them, you start to have compassion for them, you start to have empathy, and it works both ways. And that's why I say, in a way that they get compassion and empathy and stuff for you as well.
The whole thing is like the one-on-one.
That's what I was getting to, and that's why I say like it shouldn't be these interracial relationships are fine by me, and I think they're awesome as long as it's not like a fetishized type of thing. You just like, I like I like Asian women, um I like
A la carte, like a
yeah,
la carte
exactly.
bullshit.
Like you're basically deciding where you're having like dinner at. Like, I've seen a lot of situations, like a lot of guys would have posted like their child's, a black man who had a baby with like a white woman, like they'd post messages that the child's mother would send them, saying like, oh, like, why did you braid my daughter's hair? I don't like that hair. I don't want her hair to look like that. And it's like, well, you had a child with like a black man. Like, you should be open to the child having like, a black hairstyle. Like, they are black. They are just as much black as they are white. Like, you should have known that when y'all laid down together.
But then you have to deal with the opposite end, where if someone who is half black, now they have to deal with the whole burden of acting a certain way. Oh, you're not white, like even they're just acting, they're just being who they are. But then they have to deal with the whole thing of like, no, that's not black. You're not white. You're black. Now they can't act white. That's been
Yeah.
going on. That's going on
And
like
like,
forever.
true story. I didn't even realize I was like a mixed race biracial child until like I was maybe like 13 or 14.
High school.
Yeah, middle school, high school, because like I used to always get questions, especially when I moved to the States. Oh, where are you from?
Hmm.
And stuff like that. And people would always like assume that people from the Virgin Islands looked like me, like how a mixed person would look. So it seemed normal to me um to be different, but I never thought of myself. I always thought I was raised to be um black more than anything. Like, I grew up, but at the same time, like I grew up watching like Indian music movies and listening to Indian music. Our old coworker where we used to work, Mike, like I would tell her, we would talk about like Indian culture. But all of this, like I said, it was new to me as a biracial child, like when I was like 13 or 14, because I always thought of myself as black. I never thought of myself as black and Indian. So that's another thing. If you're in an interracial relationship and an interracial marriage and you have biracial children, that you also have to be mindful of.
We also have Joel joining us. He wasn't in the beginning, but then we invited him onto the show, and he was such a great addition to the dynamic of the show that he's now always with us now when we do a show.
So I don't see why the Redskins are way behind on this. Like, it's just change the name. That's just racist. Whatever you call whatever they call themselves is.
That's it right there. It's just racist. And another thing is you got to tell some of your stories. Joel got to tell some of his stories. So
I think that we're finding our way, and I hope in the future you guys join us and follow us, and we'll love to hear from you. Give us comments below, and we always appreciate feedback because this is a dialogue conversation, and not just between us. We want everyone else to get involved, and that's the point of social media.
And then watch us. Let your mama know, let your daddy know, let your stepdad know, let your stepmom know, let your girlfriend know, let your side chick know, let your boyfriend know, let your boys, your roster of dudes you talk to on your DMs, let them know. Let your bodega, deli, the guy that makes your sandwiches, let him know. Let everyone know to watch this show because it's that damn good. And I'm not going to tell you again. I'm not going to tell you again. Suge me the Mooney. Suge me the Mooney. Suge me the Mooney.
I'm not begging. I'm not pleading. I'm asking you guys. Because it's not going to be a secret. We want to let it out. It's like a big group chat. And everyone's going to get involved. I look like Payback.
And unlike Tommy from Goodfellas, we are here. We are here to amuse you, okay? We don't care if you view us as clowns. As long as we're here to entertain you, we're here.
What? I'm a good shot. What? Fucking baby.
Sun shines bright on the old Kentucky home.
Hey, Suge, how you doing?
What's up, man?
We got Joel here, too. How you doing, Joel?
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
It's pretty good. It's July 4th, 2020. Suge be the Mooney. We're going to talk about Mad Men. Mad Men was on Netflix. Now they're going to be on Amazon. They depicted blackface in one of the episodes. So, it happened a lot recently where many shows in the last 20 years used blackface in their show in a way that they chose to remove the whole episode from like streaming services. But with Mad Men, the producers and the creators opted to keep the episode with the blackface in, but they're going to use a disclaimer. So basically, this is the official statement that came out a couple days ago when the announcement made that they're going to keep it in on the Amazon streaming service. This episode contains disturbing images related to race in America. Lionsgate, who distribute Mad Men. One of the characters is shown in blackface as part of an episode that shows how commonplace racism was in America in 1963. In its reliance on historical authenticity, the series producers are committed to exposing the injustices and inequalities within our society that continue to this day, so we can examine even the most painful parts of our history in order to reflect on who we are today and who we want to become. We are therefore presenting the original episode in its entirety. I'm going to pose this to Suge first. How do you feel about the disclaimer aspect of this before we go talk about everything else?
Yeah, so I got into Mad Men not fairly late. I got into it in between season 3 and season 4. It was while I was in college, so I think I was home on break, so I would just watch like stuff on demand. So they had the entire season 3 on demand. So I watched season 3 and then became a fan from there onward. And I always used to tell Mike that I wanted to watch the first 2 seasons, and I kept on putting it off up until a few months ago when it was announced they were pulling it off Netflix. So I had to watch those seasons now or never. And I came across the episode of Old Country Home. It was a 4th of July party, right?
It was Kentucky Derby.
I came across that episode in my like binge watch, and I actually, well before all of this, I had took a picture of it and I DM'd Mike with it, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, because it shocked me, but hmm
Yeah, that was like 2 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago only, right?
yeah, like right before they took it off on Netflix.
Yeah, a lot of things we talk about, we already that are in the news, we already talked about in the past, so it's just interesting that things keep
Yeah, but
popping
this
up.
was like before, because that disclaimer or the announcement that they were putting it on Amazon or IMDb TV, um,
Mhm.
that was just a couple of days ago. So I brought it up again with Mike because it's funny how like 2 weeks later, something from an episode from like 10 years ago is relevant now. But I've been back and forth with it. Um, the character is Roger Sterling, and just to give some background on him, he was the company, the ad company, that's the basis of the show is called Sterling Cooper initially, and it goes on and has different names and different partners. But his father was a founding member, so he's uh Sterling Roger Sterling is partners with Burt Cooper, who's the original founding member, but Roger Sterling is basically he inherited um Sterling Cooper or his partnership in Sterling Cooper. So it's not like it's something he built. So he's definitely characterized as a rich brat. If you think of like Donald Trump's sons, that's what Roger Sterling is. So the thing about Mad Men is the show is so intricate in its depiction of the era that I was telling Mike the other day that they would look up weather reports to know exactly what the weather was, not only that day, but down to like that hour and that minute. If it was sunny, like it's gonna be sunny. If it was raining during that time, it was raining. So it was really intricate, and um, the show wasn't meant to like glorify these things. The main character of the show, Don Draper, the whole arc of the series for him is just him putting on a show to fit in to this world of misogyny and subtle and sometimes upfront racism. So it's all part of the show. And as far as I'm concerned, me and Joel talked about it a while back with Quentin Tarantino's use of the N-word. Um I can't speak to like Pulp Fiction where it's used, and Jackie Brown and Reservoir Dogs, these movies that are set in current at the time the present day. But as far as like Django and Hateful Eight, these were eras where black people were seen as cattle and property. So people didn't even think of them as people. So of course they would use the N word. Of course they would call them all kind of nasty names and be dehumanizing to them. It's just the historical accuracy of the thing, and I rather have that I rather have that honesty as far as historical tradition than just whitewashing it. And another thing about Mad Men is whenever they involve like non wasp or non-white characters, they would I don't know how to explain myself on this. Whenever they would have those type of characters, it would always be done in a way to reflect the ignorance of the era. So it wasn't always in jest, or it wasn't because a lot of shows they simply just ignore the fact that black people exist. Like I watched League of Their Own a few times over the last couple of days because MLB Network has been showing baseball movies every now and again. So it had one scene. This whole movie is about like women playing baseball while men were at war. And Penny Marshall, God rest her soul, um, she included a part where you know the there was a color barrier in Major League Baseball, but there was also a color barrier in the girls' league, and it showed a black woman, like a ball got away from a player, and a black woman picked up the ball and just like threw it, like threw a dart, like a frozen world, like, you know, 100 feet away. And it was an interesting thing. It's interesting that she included that in the movie. Whereas a lot of movies would just be like, well, it's about white people, so we're just gonna have white people in it.
Shug, you hit on the same exact points that I was going to bring up. So I will do my twist on it too. It's the same, but it's a little different.
Yeah, my
So
bad.
let's
My
hear
point. Some of my points just
No, I
lend
mean, but
themselves
me.
to another one. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, but me and you, we talk about Mad Men ad
Mhm.
nauseum, and like the whole thing with Roger Sterling. He is like the embodiment of like the Wasp, and like he's second generation money, so he didn't earn it. He relied on one account for like 25 years, whatever.
Yeah, and they
And
did
then when
some
he
really
lost,
nasty things to keep that account.
but basically what I'm saying is that me and you had very similar takes. I'm gonna come back to it, but I'm gonna hear what Joel has to say, because Joel, you watched the episode, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen Mad Men yet, like done the whole series, but I've seen that episode.
Yeah. So basically, the episode, there's three storylines in the episode. One is the Kentucky Derby, where Don Draper brings his wife. They go to a party, and it's the Kentucky Derby, which is like, if everyone knows, like when you go to the thing, they have the hats and everything. They have all these traditions. Joel, what'd you think of the use of the blackface in this episode?
Like it was accurate at that time frame. That's they had even before that it was minstrel shows. That's how they instead of having black people, it was white people in blackface playing black characters. So that's that was accurate. And it's just a lot of TV shows, honestly, from back then. I like the Golden Girls, for example. I heard lately they gonna remove some episodes from the Golden Girls because there's an episode. The Golden Girls is everybody's seen that. There's gonna be a lot of these TV shows that they're gonna look back on and they're gonna see blackface episodes on it. It's just the nature of how things was back then. And another one of my favorite TV shows or series, All in the Family, that touched on everything. Like I said, I've just seen it so many times, kind of like I was just numb to it, honestly. It's like, and I did even more research. Like the song "My Old Kentucky Home" that was singing was actually, well, according to Frederick Douglass, where I did my research on him, he felt like that was like an anti-slavery song. So it's kind of like, who knows what's going on right now? That's just when I did my research.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that you look back on, and there was like, that was troubling. Looking back on it, at the time, maybe they thought they were being like progressive by showing it and showing that these characters were foolish in their ways. That's the whole difference between the Mad Men situation with other shows that are actually taking out episodes. Like there's an episode of Community, I believe they took out. 30 Rock, they took out, and they took out Always Sunny, and that was used more in the whole like Tropic Thunder way. Even at that, in the last 20 years, it was more of like a shock. Like they used it in the guise of satire. They basically like, this is funny, but let's say that it's a satire. We're making fun of people who think this way. So that's why I think I'm like, as like objectively speaking, and as someone not of color, I'm like, okay, I understand them taking those out. But Mad Men, I appreciate them keeping it, just doing the disclaimer. Because
Yeah,
Mad
because it
Men,
just plays into the tradition of the show, and it speaks to the character of Roger Sterling, of just how ignorant and how nonchalant he was, and the silver spoon that he grew up in, that he was probably shielded from the plight of African Americans or non-white, not even just non-white, but non-rich people who were poor or poorer than he was. He was ignorant to it, and I think it showcases that, because I was questioning why would John Slattery even like agree to do that, but if you're committed to the craft, you have to do something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like the actors who have to actually play those roles must have a hard time.
Yeah, because like
Really hard
Leonardo
time.
DiCaprio, Leonardo DiCaprio is probably like the furthest thing from racist, but he has, in order for him to tap in and really show his skill as an actor, because basically acting is just you submitting yourself to another personality. So you have to challenge the challenge for actors is to do things that are uncomfortable and bring emotions out of people that you yourself wouldn't bring out as yourself. So that's why I think like keeping it in makes sense as far as Mad Men is concerned, because I feel like if you're gonna have these things going forward, with a disclaimer that provides context. If you have context, then it makes sense. If you're just doing it to be funny, um or just be ignorant, it's not fruitful.
Yeah, it's like with the Roger Sterling thing. We were talking about how he embodied that, like he's like the symbol of uh, wealth and the wasp and all that, and like American wealth. His character. So basically, any episode on Mad Men, you're gonna have to say Roger Sterling does this, and it's like anti-Semitism. He is a war veteran who doesn't like Japanese. There's a whole episode about that. Anti-women, because the whole point of the show is how Mad Men created the idea of like Americana and like America. So like they sell merchandise to women, yet while they're doing it, they're like grabbing the secretary's ass and oh, call your girl and I'll call my girl. That whole I'll call your girl, and they use like the demeaning words that in our eyes now,
Hmm.
which is not that long ago. My mother worked in an office, and it was like that. She told me that. So basically, every episode you're gonna have to say, "Well, Mad Men is this type of show." Like, all right, but if going into the show, you know that this is what you're gonna get in the 1960s. The whole point of the show is transition from the this idea that they made after World War II into like the 70s, where cultures clash, and then you have like more of going the last generation, basically like that.
Yeah, and then if you watch the show, they had a character Dawn, who was a secretary, black secretary, like the first black secretary when I believe it was brought upon because one of the partners put out an ad for like equal opportunity or something like that during the Civil Rights Act, and the press was on them to hire a black person. And by the end of the show, she becomes like the office manager, and it shows her as a strong like black woman character. Two things, if you'd been watching the show from the beginning, you wouldn't expect by like the end of the series.
That's a great point. We actually talked about this. Me and Chuck, we talked about it where it's like in the long run, like it's generational. Remember we talked about that about I
Yeah.
think it was during the Bubba. Yeah. So basically, like Joan started off as like a Marilyn Monroe character in the 40s and 50s, where like they kept her around because she looked good, and then by the end she was running the office, and then Dawn became the next one. It's all generational. So that's another aspect of the show that's great.
And the thing with rewatching the show, not to cut you off, but the thing with rewatching the show as and putting together what I had already seen and what I finally saw, like, the series, like seasons 3 till the end that I watched, like Don Draper was my favorite character. But as I watched like the whole series and I put everything together, like Peggy Olson is my favorite character on that show, from where she started and where she ended. So I think the point of the show is just to show the progression of society. You can't, like, things can't be stagnant. Things can't be stagnant, and you can't be trying to go back to your old ways. Like the whole thing about America is just moving on and moving forward. And you know, it's like when Donald Trump says "Make America Great Again." It's like, what do you want to go back to this era in the 1960s where officers were playing grab ass and basically sleeping with your secretary or sleeping with the new girl was like a rite of passage?
Just the other thing I noticed in the blackface scene is everybody just seems so, again, other than Don Draper, right? Don Draper, that's his name?
Yes.
Yeah, other than him, everybody was just so comfortable with the fact, and that's just disturbing too. Like, nobody other than probably two people in there didn't just seem disturbed at all. Like, it was just so natural, so normal. It was like entertainment. And that's just the sad thing about it too, is that people really seeing this as entertainment, and it's really not. It's just a mockery.
Right.
Yeah, actually, the other character was Campbell. You notice that Campbell felt uncomfortable too
Yeah,
for some reason. Did you see
it was
that?
only like really like I've seen like two, Don Draper and Campbell. I know, like, I haven't really seen the series. I don't know their names by heart, but I just remember seeing like two, and that's just like horrible. And that was a whole party in broad daylight, mind you. It wasn't even like in a theater. It was outside, like outdoors barbecue. That's
Right.
insane.
Right, and then in the official press statement, they use the word commonplace, and of course these people aren't common. They're like the wealthy of the wealth. Like Suge said that Roger Sterling pretty much represent. He's like kind of like Don Jr.
Yeah, when you say it's amongst like the rich, remember these are the people. It just goes to show you how systematic racism is, because these are the people that were in that party were the affluent and people with political power. Betty's future husband was at that party, and he was like the right hand man to Nelson Rockefeller, who was like the governor of New York at the time. And if that kind of stuff was okay with like somebody who has the governor's ear, like it's fine. Like, what do you think Nelson Rockefeller was doing for blacks and minorities during that time?